Remember when they decided to make a Mad Max movie without Max and it crashed and burned so hard that audiences practically ignored it? Remember how it became the perfect example of what happens when creators completely lose sight of their audience and forget what made their own franchise successful in the first place? Well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, allow me to present Exhibit B, God of War Law, the newest entry in the legendary franchise that was officially revealed during Sony's State of Play showcase just a few days ago. A game that has already managed to throw the fanbase, and honestly, most of the gaming internet, into absolute chaos, sparking outrage, arguments, backlash, and enough controversy to fuel discussion for months. And from the looks of things, it might end up doing to the God of War franchise exactly what Furiosa did to the Mad Max saga. Why? Because, at its core, it's a God of War game that somehow doesn't actually feature the God of War. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how that works out. I mean, sure, there are other stories you could tell in this universe. Fair enough. I think most players would have happily accepted a game centered around Atreus and what happens to him after he parts ways with his father. Ragnarok practically left that door wide open and invited someone to walk through it. Instead, Sony apparently looked at all those possibilities and said, nah. So now we're getting a game about Kratos' dead wife, Faye La Faye, or whatever the hell she's supposed to be called. Anyway, God of War Quest for Laundry apparently takes place across the events of God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. Before picking up immediately after Faye's funeral, she wakes up in the afterlife alongside dead gods, mythical beings, deities, and apparently every religion, mythology, and belief system that somehow exists together in one giant dimensional melting pot. Jesus Christ, I can't wait to see Mormonism show up in there. Bring out the golden tablets, boys. Anyway, Laundry Lady embarks on a long, dangerous, and presumably extremely violent adventure through the afterlife, smashing her way through gods and monsters with the assistance of a talking cube of jelly named Frank. And yes, unbelievably, I am completely serious about that. Her mission? To save Kratos and Atreus from beyond the grave. And you read something like this and immediately wonder, why? What exactly were they hoping to accomplish here? Was this genuinely a story that demanded to be told? More importantly, was it a story anybody was actually asking for? Because I'm going to make a pretty safe assumption and say that when most people imagine a God of War game, they're probably picturing a massive, furious, bald mountain of muscle grunting his way through armies while violently dismantling anything unfortunate enough to stand in front of him, occasionally pausing to think about boy. What they're probably not imagining is a remarkably ordinary-looking middle-aged woman who seems like someone applied a 1980s Scottish housewife filter to a mocap actress while she trades quirky, Marvel-style dialogue with a sentient jelly cube voiced by Jack Quaid. Because honestly, if your story requires an unthreatening, non-intimidating, eternally passive punching bag, you'd struggle to find a more suitable candidate. The point is that this franchise has always been defined by Kratos and his journey. From the very first game right through to today, he's been the foundation everything else was built around. Trying to transfer decades of audience investment onto a character who has mostly existed through brief mentions and a handful of flashbacks feels like an uphill battle that was never winnable to begin with. You're voluntarily fighting on terrain that favors absolutely nobody on your side. How exactly do you expect that to end? And let's be real for a moment. There's also the modern audience factor hanging over all of this. Gamers, much like movie and television fans, have spent years watching beloved male characters get replaced, sidelined, killed off, diminished, or shoved aside to make room for a parade of arrogant, invincible, insufferable girl bosses that audiences never asked for and rarely connected with. The result? Years of emotional investment flushed straight down the drain. And for what? So developers can congratulate themselves and claim they're making entertainment more inclusive? Now, if I were a cynical man, and modern entertainment has certainly given me plenty of reasons to become one, I might suggest that this entire game exists purely to reposition Laundry Lady as the secret hero of Ragnarok, quietly saving Kratos without him ever realizing it. Hell, maybe that's exactly where this is headed. Then again, maybe I'm completely wrong. And honestly, I hope I am. Because God of War has been absolutely phenomenal over the last several years. And I'd like that streak to continue. Either way, I think that's where much of the backlash is coming from. Whether people like it or not, God of War, with its absurd levels of violence, themes of vengeance, honor, redemption, personal growth, sacrifice, and fatherhood, has always been aimed primarily at one audience. Men. Kratos represents the ultimate male power fantasy on the surface. But beneath all that strength is a deeply flawed and conflicted character that gives him genuine depth. That doesn't mean women can't enjoy these games. Obviously they can, and many do. But it does mean men remain the primary audience. And the second that audience gets even the slightest impression that the franchise is being softened, diluted, pushed in a different direction, or that their favorite character is being moved aside in favor of someone designed to appeal to modern trends, they will react. And react loudly. People don't like feeling ignored. They don't like feeling taken for granted. And they definitely don't like feeling as though the stories they invested in for years are being rewritten around them. Which is why this feels like a fight Sony never had a realistic chance of winning. And if things continue down this road, the casualties could end up being significant for everyone involved. I don't know, man. Maybe the real God of War was the laundry we folded along the way. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.